Yo, what is going on, guys? J.Yumeko here, and today we're back with some more Katawa Shoujo. Last time we left off, we had some quality time with Misha and Shizune in the student council room, and hopefully this episode we'll get to spend some more quality time with Hanako. I have made some predictions about what might happen in these future episodes. Some of them including maybe trying to get more friends for Hanako, sort of. But yeah, who knows what'll happen. Let's load it on up and get back into it. Alright, Rise and Shine, I believe March 19th, baby, alright. Chirping birds. Normally, this would be a good time to reflect upon the beauty of nature, but it is 6 a.m. Covering my head with my pillow, I slam my face into the mattress, hoping that the impact will send me instantly back to sleep. Futile. I toss and turn, but sleep simply won't return to me. Alright, nature, you've won. See, I'm getting up now. The lack of sleep weighs my mind down, and there's only one remedy for this: a nice, hearty breakfast. It would be nice to be the first person here, to be the first to dig into a piping hot pile of food, to sit wherever I desire. It would have been nice. But even my exceptionally early start has put me behind the most diligent students. I guess there are quite a few people here that have early starts, for one reason or another. A group of students in sports clothes huddle around on one table, eagerly discussing game plans in between inhaling great gulps of food. Scattered around the hallway are a number of bleary-eyed students, probably suffering from the same ailment as myself: noisy birds. And of course, there are the people that actually enjoy getting up this early. The ones with their bags stuffed with textbooks and completed homework. It's hard not to despise people like that, even more so when you're tired yourself. Picking out a familiar face from the thin crowd, I head towards the nearest table. Lily sits alone, delicately feeling her way around a small plate of eggs with her fork. It's almost a shame to interrupt her in her clockwork movements. I wonder, is this how a blind person zones out? Simply moving in predetermined patterns learned over the years, just like how a sighted person would eat while reading a newspaper? Good morning, Lily. I didn't expect you to be here this early.
Oh, Hisao, you startled me. I didn't know you took breakfast this early.
I don't. This is an exception to the rule. I'd greatly prefer to be late to school than early to breakfast. Lily gives a small sigh at my admitted tardiness as I begin eating my food. It doesn't take long for her to lapse back into her previous mindless nibbling. Each short motion lacks energy. I suppose this is similar to letting your eyes wander while performing any ordinary chore. But after a few repetitions of the find food/eat food cycle, Lily puts down her fork and dabs her lips with a napkin.
Hisao, do you mind if I ask you a question?
Damn, all I want is a little food and about 4 hours of sleep. And nobody says, "Can I ask you a question?" for a simple question. Sure.
Do you think of Hanako as a friend?
Huh. This seems like a leading question. I guess so. Why do you ask?
No real reason. I do have another question, though. Why is it that you think of her as a friend?
This is well above my level. What is she expecting from me? I'm not really sure. I guess it's because she's a little different in the way she deals with people.
Since I've known her, she hasn't really connected with anyone. She doesn't seem interested in other people, and I think people are a little scared off by her appearance.
Really? I thought that kind of thing was, well, discouraged here. Discriminating and such.
If I were to put it one way...
She furrows her brow in thought, a move which makes me slightly anxious as to what she's plucking from her mind.
I'd say you're a little naive.
Naive? I'd be insulted if not for the slightly cynical grin on her face. I see.
While Yamaku has a stronger sense of community compared to other schools, it's far from being free of conflict. Rules cannot remove human nature after all, only suppress it.
That's something I've noticed, actually. Just little things, like how certain people and cliques avoid each other in the hallways. It's no different than my old school, really. Even Lily and Shizune could be considered bitter rivals, even though they both seem like fairly accepting people. Well, At least the Misha-tinted Shizune does. Who knows what actually goes on with her fingers and behind her glasses. I guess you're right, but when I first came here, everything was a bit of a shock. I kept on making mistakes, or at least thinking I was making mistakes. Like when we first met, and I said, "I see," to you. I didn't know if that was considered rude or anything, so I tried to just put it in the back of my mind. Treating people any differently and that kind of thing. So I didn't. I told myself that Hanako and you and everyone else was just normal, and I tried to ignore the obvious. I talked to Hanako as if she were any other person, and so we became friends. At least, that's how I think it happened. But I feel guilty just from saying something like that aloud. As if it took extra effort to think of Hanako, or you, or anyone here as normal people. I don't think that's right.
Hisao, I think you are naive, but I also think that you are a good person. It is perhaps one of your better traits.
I suppose I can take that as a compliment.
Tell me, are you free tonight?
If you don't count homework, then I'm as free as the breeze.
In that case, would you care to join myself and Hanako for tea?
I don't really have that much money at the moment, so going out isn't really...
Oh, I don't mean going out. Just here, this evening.
You can access the classrooms in the evening here?
No, that's not what I meant. Hanako and I often use my room for tea parties together. Please feel free to drop by after dusk.
Sure, I see no problem with that. What's your room number?
225. Room 25 on the second floor.
Okay, sure.
Well then, I'd best be off. I have class representative duties to attend to after all. Until this evening, Hisao.
Yeah, catch you later.
Hang on, was I just invited to a girl's room after hours? Is that even allowed?
There is a curfew here, but I've never heard any rules about visitors in the dorm rooms. Even still, this is enough to get my sleep-deprived brain jump-started. Add that to a lukewarm breakfast and you have one hell of a pick-me-up. I grudgingly go to class, still a little excited at the prospect of breaking the rules. I feel a little like a kid planning to sneak out of his window at night. Well, maybe that's going a little too far. But when you compare an invitation to a party to 6 or so hours of lectures, I know which one wins. Misha and Shizune do little to relieve my boredom either. For once, they seem determined to actually complete Mito's assignments. Nevertheless, the day eventually winds to a close. I hurry back to my room to wash up and comb my hair. Thankfully, I didn't run into Kenji. Thank God you didn't run into Kenji. I hate doing Kenji's voice. I gave him the most, shredding voice I could give him, and I regret it so much. Before long, I'm leaving the boys' dorms. I nervously rap on the door marked 225, checking my watch once again.
Is that you, Hisao? The door is open. You can come in.
Lily's voice lilts through the door and soothes my nerves. This is the first time I've been invited to a girl's room after dark. Even though I know there's no ulterior motive behind this invitation, it doesn't stop my mind running wild with possibilities. One guy, 2 girls, in a dorm room? With a tea set? When I put it like that, it sounds a little dodgy. Giving a small sigh to steady myself, I gingerly put my hand on the handle and open the door, craning my head to see inside. Hey! The door opens completely and I catch my first glimpse of Lily's room. Her furniture looks almost antique, but the bare walls and flat surfaces are barely decorated at all. In the center of the room sits a low table, where I see a small tea set at rest. It seems that everything in this room has its place, possibly excepting the several piles of books stacked up against the wall. My sense of vision isn't the only one to be stimulated. The faint smell of something can be picked up on the air. Nail polish, perfume, makeup. It's hard to describe in any other way than girly. My eyes finish their quick sweep of the room before returning their position onto the girls. Lily sits next to the small table, wearing very dark blue pajamas. Dark blue pajamas with shorts that show off plenty of her alluring pale legs. Thighs, legs. Opposite her, Hanako sits adorned in a conservative light pink gown. Her hands are firmly fixed between her legs, her shoulders forward and her head down as if trying to hide herself in it. It would be easy for her to do. It looks about 2 sizes too big for her. Waves of flannel flow from her frame, making her look like a child playing dress-up in her parents' clothes. She looks up to confirm my identity, and the beginnings of a thin smile creep across her face, before vanishing so fast that I can't be sure they were ever there.
There's no point in you standing in the doorway, Hisao.
I take a step into the room, closing the door behind me.
My, I'm afraid this room really is I'm afraid this room...
I can't speak.
I'm afraid this really is a small room for the 3 of us. Would you like to take a seat?
I slowly walk to the table and sit down, trying my hardest not to disturb anything along the way. I also can't help but steal a quick glance into Lily's top as I sit. Honestly, I feel you, bro. I feel you. To be robbed of the sight would be a most terrible fate.
Oh my god. It's so...
I mean, like, I'm totally with him on this. Don't get me wrong. I'm totally with him on this, but... man.
Well now, how about some tea? Hanako, could you please pour? Sure. Hisao, what... Would you like...
I would love some tea. Do you need a hand?
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
Lily finds it difficult to resist a smile at her companion's nervousness, something I can't really blame her for. Been a tiring day?
Yeah.
I relax at my place, opposite of the cabinet. To my left is the blue-clad Lily, and to my right sits the pink Hanako. The tea set on the table looks cute as well as practical, painted red with a floral motif. It looks odd when contrasted with Lily's plain but generally sophisticated-looking furniture, which leads me to think that Hanako might have picked it out. There's a slight ting when Hanako accidentally tips the teapot on a cup as she's pouring. She breathes in sharply. She must be really nervous, as it's not the kind of thing anyone would worry about. Hanako quivers at her mistake.
It's okay, Hanako. There's no need to be nervous.
Hanako seems to find some confidence in Lily's reassuringly soft-spoken words and deftly pours the next 2 cups.
Here you are, Hisao, Lily.
Hanako carefully places a cup and saucer in front of Lily and myself. I could get used to service like this.
Thank you, Hanako.
Yeah, thanks.
You're welcome.
Lily searches for her cup, and upon finding it, sips it delicately. I do the same. This tea tastes somewhat better than the tea we usually have at school. And this is nice. It's so different from any other tea I've had before.
Looks like you picked the right one, Hanako. You've done well, even if it was a bold move.
Hanako's smile returns, redoubled. Even with her blighted face, her shy smile can't be called anything but cute.
I'm glad you like it.
Hanako, finally beginning to relax, sips from her cup. I think back to my chat with Misha the other day. Is Hanako's behavior something to be concerned about, or is she just shy? And then there was Lily earlier this morning. The concern from both of them seemed to be genuine, and they know the situation better than I. But really, how could I possibly help? I'm no plastic surgeon, so I can't really help her appearance, nor am I a psychologist who can make her more sociable. So what the hell do Lily and Misha want me to do? It's frustrating. Hanako and I are quickly becoming friends on our own accord, and because of that, it seems like everyone wants me to solve all her problems, and I have no idea how to do that. No one can cure my heart, nor Lily's eyes, nor anyone's who's here in this school. However, I see no harm in becoming better friends with Hanako. Now that she's warming up to me, I kind of enjoy hanging out with her.
So, Hisao, are you enjoying yourself?
Lily's words break me out of my reverie, and I take a second to reconsider where I am. I'm in a room with 2 girls in their bedclothes. This is something to be enjoyed. Yeah, it's relaxing. Almost like I'm not in the school anymore. Do you do this often?
Quite often, but not as often as we take the tea in the school building.
Considering they do that nearly every day, that's not a big surprise. As I move to take another sip from my teacup, I find it sadly empty. That was delicious. Thank you, Hanako. Lily.
You're welcome. Yes, you're most welcome, Hisao. It's nice to have a third person here.
Well, anytime you need someone to fill that position, I'm always available. Always. One must be sure to get one's point across in these circumstances. Lily lets you loose a yawn, which she unsuccessfully hides with her hand.
Pardon me, I think I'm a little tired. I think we're all a little tired. My, how astute we are, Hanako. How astute we are tonight, Hanako. We really should head to bed. We all have class tomorrow.
Yeah, I should go.
Thank you for your presence, Hisao. Thanks. You'll come again?
Not even a whole army could stop me.
I'm impressed by your determination, Hisao.
Either way, you're right. We'd best get going. I stand up and make for the door. Hanako gingerly stands up behind me. I stop and face her. Are you coming with me? Hanako instantly blossoms into full blush.
No, not... This room isn't...
It's okay, I was only joking.
Okay. Good night.
Good night, Hanako.
Good night, Hisao.
Night all. And with that, our tea party finishes. I'm still not sure what it is that Lily wants me to do for Hanako, but I don't want to let her down. I wait until the doors close behind us before turning to Hanako. Hey, Hanako, you don't have to be nervous around me or anything. I mean, we're friends, right?
We're friends.
If you ever want to hang out or anything, just let me know. We still need to have that chess rematch, remember?
Sure. But I don't think you'll win.
It wouldn't be any fun if it was easy. Hanako seems to give a muted laugh, but she could have just as easily been exhaling.
Good night, Hisao.
With that, Hanako quickly retreats into her room, located next to Lily's. I start to walk back to my dorm, but the simple act of walking seems to drain me of my energy. I barely make it to my room before I'm hit by a wave of exhaustion. I kick off my shoes, fall into bed, and fall asleep by the time my head hits the pillow. Nice. All right, we got some PJJ action over there. I mean, am I even like, come on. That's like every man's dream right there. Oh man. I love that line when he looked down her shirt. He was like, it would be a crime to be robbed of it. Oh man. I pulled my door closed, ready for another day of classes. No, I knew it. Fuck.
Sleep well?
Kenji's sudden arrival makes me jump, and I narrowly avoid butting heads with him. I know he has poor eyesight, but he knows who I am now. Does he still have to stand this close? Oh, yeah, like a baby.
Damn, why do people say that? Have you ever heard a baby sleep? They scream all night, every night. Babies don't sleep well ever.
Well, there goes my restful state. I have to remember to never use figures of speech with Kenji. Alright, I get your point. It was a figure of speech.
Yeah, sure, whatever. Where were you last night? I had a favor to ask you, but you weren't around.
For a split second, I considered telling Kenji the truth, that I was spending time with Hanako and Lily. Thankfully, that split second passes as soon as it came. I was just out, checking out the local area and stuff. You know, recon.
Good man, good. I knew you were the type to plan ahead.
Anyway, what is this favor you wanted?
I was going to get some takeout, but I needed change.
Wait, what? I gave you money last week and you still haven't paid me back.
And I was starting to think you were cool.
Kenji fishes around in his pocket and produces his wallet. As he counts out the 400 yen he owes me, I can clearly see at least two 10,000 yen notes. Hey, what the hell? Why were you borrowing money off me when you've got that much cash? Kenji hisses a little, realizing that he's been had.
Get off my case, man. It's bad luck to break a big note for anything less than half its value. It's the tycoon's rule. Last night's dinner is gonna cost me 7 years of bad luck. 7 years. Don't you think that's enough cause to help someone out? I'd get a shorter sentence if I just stole the stuff.
My common sense screams at me to say something to him, but thankfully, I restrain myself. Arguing a point like this with Kenji will just lead to further and more complicated discussions. Yeah, I guess you're right. Maybe you should plan these things a little better.
Yeah, man, I know. But I've just got so much stuff to do, it's hard. And you're never around anymore, so I'm on my own. We're supposed to be brothers in brotherhood, remember?
Yeah, I get you. Global conspiracy and such. I'll keep my ear to the ground. Kenji draws close enough for me to get a clear whiff of his garlic-tainted breath.
You'd better, man. You're already spending less time here. That's the first thing they do. They'll try to split us up, divide and conquer. Since you said that.
Roger that. Now, I've got to get going. I've got classes. You coming?
Nah, I'm tired. I stayed up all night just to make sure there was nothing going to happen after splitting that note.
As rational as ever, I see.
Whatever. Night.
Kenji scurries back into his room, and I hear him throwing his locks as I walk down the hall. That is why some people can't roll their tongue, or why their second toe is longer than their big toe. Mito beams a half-moon smile at us, obviously proud of his explanation of recessive genes. However, no matter how impressed he is at the science that defines who we are, the classroom seems to be reduced to a stupor. Why is it that a bad explanation can make even the most interesting things seem worthless? I can see Mito deflate as he realizes that nothing he said in the past half hour has sunk in. Whispered conversations start to break the silence, and like an avalanche, the noise level in the class starts to rise. Defeated, Mito identifies some questions from the textbook and sets to clearing off the blackboard. Almost as if expected, Hanako packs up her things and leaves as soon as people start talking and laughing amongst themselves. The initial shock of seeing someone play so blatantly truant has started to fade, but it doesn't stop me from wondering. Is she leaving because she doesn't want people to speak to her? Or is it just the thought of people around her shattering her peace? Before I can think about the topic any further, the lunch bell rings. I wonder if she was simply taking the opportunity to leave early. The usual clamor of students exchanging books for lunch reverberates around the room, and while Misha's distracted, I grab my lunch and head out the door. Lily already sits in the tea room, setting out her lunch alone. So, Hanako's not here then?
Oh, Hisao, how are you? I haven't met Hanako since this morning, I'm afraid.
That's right, Hanako and Lily live next door to each other. Somehow I think their morning conversations are slightly more grounded than Kenji's ramblings. That's strange. She left class early, so I figured she'd come here.
So, she's still leaving class early.
Huh? Yeah, I've seen her do it a few times. Lily drops her head a little, and her tone of voice is notably depressed. It's very reminiscent of someone who's used to hearing bad news.
I was so sure that she'd stop doing that once you two became friends. Everyone has their own pace, I suppose.
Well, I was just wondering about that today. Why exactly does she leave?
I'm not entirely sure myself. I personally think that it's because she doesn't want to be put in a situation where she has to answer someone.
I have a flashback of my first meeting with her, when I thought she looked like a cornered animal. Maybe it wasn't far from the truth. But she seems fine talking to you, and with me. A bit.
It seems a little more complex than that. I imagine the first thing most people ask her about is her scars, and what happened. She rarely talks about it with me, but I can tell that she doesn't like to remember whatever happened back then. Leaving class and running away from discussions is her preemptive strike, if you will.
Huh. So then how does that explain her talking to me?
You said it yourself yesterday at breakfast. You tried to ignore her scars. Once she saw that you weren't going to ask her about that, she opened herself up to you.
I guess you're right. Maybe, I don't know. You know her better than I, so I'll take your word for it.
I wouldn't worry about that. I'm sure you'll come to know her as well as I do soon enough. I welcome the prospect of her having a new friend. and the two of you have such similar interests.
Well, I hardly count reading as a team sport. It's good to have company, though.
That's my point. Hanako is still an average person at heart. She also wants company at times like that.
Huh. I see. I think. To be honest, both of you still confuse me a little.
That's only naturally, Sao. We've only known each other for a little while. It's unreasonable to expect you to understand us just as we can't understand you. But that is half the fun of becoming friends, right?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Although, I suppose there is the matter of us being opposite genders. Men and women do seem to confuse each other quite often.
She says this with a light giggle, finding amusement at the odd little details of life.
I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to start eating.
No, go ahead. I think I'll eat something too. I've got some books I want to drop back at the library before classes start, so I'd better get a move on.
You'll probably find Hanako there as well. If you do see her, can you tell her to stop by my room later tonight? I'd like to talk to her.
You're not coming?
Unfortunately, I have a class representatives meeting later, so I'll be gone as soon as I've finished my lunch.
Alright then. If I don't see her in the library, then I'll tell her in class. I'm sure she'll be back after lunch. We fall silent as we start to eat, and I take a second to reflect on our conversation. I've always thought that Hanako's shyness was simply due to her being self-conscious of her scars, but that is a pretty superficial way of looking at her. Just when I thought I was able to see through the fog of Lily and Hanako, I realize that I'm more lost than when I started. Lily quickly finishes her lunch, acutely aware of her meeting. I don't blame her. Shizune is most likely going to be there, and I doubt she wants to give her the satisfaction of another argument.
I must be off. Same time tomorrow?
Same time, same channel. I'd better head off too. I don't want to risk being late. Lily smiles gently, picks up her cane, and walks out the hall. I turn my back on Lily as we head in opposite directions. For some reason, I find myself hoping she doesn't get into another fight with Shizune. As much as I like Lily, Shizune and Misha have been pretty instrumental in helping me adjust, even if half of our conversations are thinly veiled recruitment attempts. Then again, I barely know either of them. Maybe they were previously leaders of some kind of secret society, but their love for each other drove them apart. Man, I really need to stop reading cheap fiction. It's rotting my brain. Either that or I've got to move away from Kenji and his bad influence. It's sad that I can't tell the two apart anymore. I slide my books down the return chute and they crash into the cart with a pleasant thud. Yuko, however, doesn't seem as impressed as I.
So, you scared me.
Sorry, I thought you'd be used to that by now. Or is literacy level here just so low that nobody borrows any books?
Huh? No, I think everyone here can read fine.
Yeah, never mind. There's some battles that you can never win. Trying to explain jokes is one of them. My dad taught me that the hard way. Say, Yuko, have you seen Hanako about... She left class early, but she wasn't in her usual hiding place.
I think I saw her sneak in before lunch. Oh, but I'm not supposed to tell anyone that.
I just told you I saw her leave. No need to be stressed out.
Oh, of course. She's probably in the back.
Thanks. Got any new books recently?
No, sorry. I'll let you know when we do, though.
Alright. If there's one thing I know about librarians, part-time or otherwise, is that they appreciate people who take a genuine interest in their work. I walk the now familiar path to Hanako's reading nook, picking out a few titles along the way. Sometimes I find it hard to discover a book that'll interest me among the shelves. An author's name and a two-word title don't mean much in a sea of similar words. For that reason, I sometimes reread books that I read in the past. Better to bet on the favorite than a new runner. I fucking get that, dude. I totally understand that. An unfamiliar title from a familiar author peeks out among the spines of its neighbors, so I remove it from the shelf. At least I'm not going over old material. As expected, Hanako sits on her beanbag, buried deep in a copy of Dance Dance Dance. Hi Hanako, how's it going? I fight back the urge to ask why she left class early. If Lily's suspicions were right, then asking her about that could have the opposite effect. Best to leave it for the time being. Sometimes the best way to get an answer from someone is to never ask the question.
Hello, Sao. I'm fine.
Something seems off. and after a couple of seconds, I realize what it is. Hanako's smiling. She looks as if she's pleased to see me. It's a nice change from the usual instinctively frightened reaction, and something I hope I can get to see more of as we get to know each other better. Good to hear. How's that book? I've heard it's a trip.
It's good, I think. I've only just started it, so I don't really know.
Fair enough. Let me know how it goes. I may borrow it once you're done.
Sure.
There's a good 15 minutes left in lunch. Not enough to really get into a book, but too much to stand around doing nothing. And Hanako's already returned to her reading, so I doubt I'll get much conversation from her. Oh well, I better make myself feel comfortable. I slouch into a beanbag and crack open my book. The familiar style of the author leaps out at me from the very first line. As the sentences turn into paragraphs, I start to relax a little. But no matter how I try, I can't seem to get myself into the atmosphere of the book. This is partly due to the lack of time, but the more distracting factor is Hanako. Every 10 seconds or so, she peers over the top of her book, but when our eyes meet, she quickly ducks behind the covers. I guess she did want to talk about something after all. What's up? You look like a prairie dog on the lookout.
It's nothing.
I've told you before, nothing means something when you say it like that. Hanako squirms a little in her beanbag, hoping that by changing her position, she'll find the words she's looking for.
I was in an accident.
Accident? Just now? Are you alright? Hanako shakes her head, her hair flowing around her shoulders in wisps of amethyst on the background of pale and dark flesh.
No. When I was younger.
Realization crashes into me like a semi.
When I was...
It's alright, Hanako. You don't have to tell me anything if you don't want to. Again, she shakes her head.
No. I have to tell you. When I was young, I was in a fire. My house burned down, and I nearly didn't make it. After that, I was alone.
Hanako's eyes glisten in the dim light of the library, and I reach out to grasp her hand. It's okay, Hanako. You don't have to keep going.
But I have to.
Why? What brought this on?
Last night, Lily told me about your heart. And I didn't think it was fair.
Fair?
That I knew about you, but you didn't know about me.
I squeeze Hanako's hand a little. Don't be silly. But yes, I have a heart condition. I lean a little closer to Hanako. What I didn't tell Lily is that I had my first attack when a girl confessed to me. I smile a little to break the tension.
Really?
Really? I haven't heard from her for a while, though, so I guess it's all over. I know it's all over. There's no other way to interpret what happened the last time I saw her. In some ways, not having heard from her again has helped me move on from that period of my life. So now we both know a little more about each other, but you don't have to talk about things if you don't want to. In fact, I feel a little bad even thinking about the whole incident. I can almost smell the hospital's disinfectant burning the back of my sinuses again. I imagine Hanako's going through the same thing right now. When I was in the hospital, I went to the burn ward once, and only once. I was bored, so I went for a walk through all of the wards. I went through oneology and thought that I could take it, but when I got to the burn ward, I turned around and went back to my bed. To think that Hanako would have to spend months in a place like that, smelling nothing but corrupted skin, strong disinfectant, and sterilized air. The really bad cases were kept in isolated pods that no foreign objects could enter. That would have meant no reading. I would have gone insane if I didn't have my books in the hospital. And she said she was alone. Did her parents die? I'll have to ask Lily about it. I can imagine myself saying something dumb unintentionally.
Thank you, Hisao. I haven't told many people about this. To be honest, I haven't told many people about my circumstances either. Then I won't tell anyone either. Deal. I change my grip on Hanako's hand into a handshake as the warning bells chime through the window. Well then, we'd better head back to class then, eh? Sure. All right. All right, we're gonna keep going until this day ends, which it looks like it's about to. The tint of the room slowly changes from the shine of the afternoon to the orange of dusk. A clock lazily ticks away the seconds, counting in the background on the verge of hearing. But no matter how long I wait, the outcome cannot be changed. The diminutive playing piece makes a small click against the board. Like a wound spring, Hanako makes her move only moments after mine. It's embarrassing. In comparison to my 5-minute moves, she already knows exactly what she wants to do. Mate. Again, what does that make this? 3-2? Stalemates don't count. Damn, you're getting better at this every day. Yes, it was turning the afternoon. We'll go a little bit longer and we'll see if it's anywhere near ending. That, or she's been holding back. I'd never have thought it when I first met her, but she really has a knack for this game. Chess seems to become a popular pastime for the two of us, hiding away in the tea room, playing a game or two after classes. From here, the students outside can just barely be heard milling about. The everyday noises from below remind me a little of my life before Yamaku, though I'm by now well aware that it's a life I'll never go back. Fancy another game? I have to finish my homework. Oh, well, see you tomorrow then. But what about this? Hanako points to the tea set surrounding the mostly empty chessboard. Don't worry about that, I got it. Oh, okay. See you. Later. Hanako departs as I start cleaning up the area. The occasional whistles and cheers from the sporting clubs outside become less frequent, eventually approaching silence. A part of me still wants to be in some kind of team, since I played soccer and other sports before my accident. I guess it's only normal to feel nostalgic about that when I can't do it anymore. But I have other reasons than that for coming here so often, and I don't feel so bad about losing that part of myself, and I don't feel so bad about losing that part of myself because of them. Lily's a good friend by now, but it's the small exchanges I have with Hanako that feel especially dear. The small victories I feel every day as I see more of what she's like under her self-imposed shell. That's why I come here most of all. As I'm putting away cups and saucers, I hear talking outside the door. Pausing for a moment to listen, I can make out that it's Hanako and Lily, and decide to go outside to investigate. Are you quite sure? I'm sure. Hisao. Hanako turns to me with a look of mild surprise as she notices my approach. Lily must have caught her just as she was about to leave. Oh my, Hisao is here as well? Afternoon, Lily. What's up? I was hoping, now that I've finished my class representative duties for the day, that I might have the two of you company for some tea at the Shanghai. It would be nice to enjoy ourselves outside of the school for a change. I'd be up for it. I think Hanako had work to do though, right? It's not all that much. Wonderful. It seems that we're decided then. I cast my eyes across the cafe as the three of us step in. Yeah, okay, I think I'm gonna stop it here just because I feel like that's gonna go into like a whole thing right there. Yeah, I think that's gonna go into like a whole new save. So, if we're playing this correctly here, I imagine each girl has 3 chapters. So we're in chapter 3, which is called Castling. So I think this is obviously going to be the place where we're really going to get in depth about who Hanako is. Same with how it went with Emmy. So yeah, I guess we're just going to have to see how this will play out here.
honestly, like, my thoughts on Hanako's route so far. I think it's really interesting because, again, I'm constantly in curiosity about how the relationship is going to kind of end up. With Emmy, it ended up kind of being a thing of being able to help her cope, I guess, with, the death of her father and all that stuff and the struggles of not having legs, blah, 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 that kind of stuff, right? So I wonder if it's going to be like the same with Hanako, or if there's just going to be some other solution besides just that we become her friend and support her, right? Or start dating and support her, whichever one it ends up being. But that's just something that we're going to have to figure out in the upcoming episodes. That's going to be it for this time. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to hit the like button and let me know in the comment section what you would like me to play next. If you enjoyed this video or series, or if you enjoy any other videos or series on my channel, then I highly recommend you hit the subscribe button and turn on post notifications so you can be notified when a new one of those videos